Hey, hello guys, it's me INKIE, and this is really interesting video because it will be about Loopy Pro. Last time I did a video about Loopy Pro was I think in December 2021. It's like already 1 year past since I started to learn and develop my template and everything with Loopy Pro. I sold my gear. I don't have any gear anymore. I just have iPad and 2 controllers. So I decided to record video where I will explain the most interesting things about Loopy Pro. This will suit for beginners who is never touched loop station or any looping device and want to start to loop. For people who is switching from hardware loop stations for C505 or maybe Headrush Looperboard or any other similar loopers. And for really advanced loopers who know what they want from a loop station and they want to see how the Loopy Pro works. And the first main principle about Loopy Pro, it is like a puzzle, but puzzle which has no guidelines. You can create whatever you want. And it is not only just a looper. It could be sampler, DAW, clip launcher, recorder, sequencer, and control surface. You can control your gear, you can send MIDI to your gear from your iPad, you can control loop stations, you can record audio from different channels, send to different channels. It's completely up to you how you want to build your loop station. It could be very simple and very complex at the same time. So you will see how it could be flexible, some interesting tricks, how to set up your loop station, how, I don't know, maybe to clone your 505. Should we do? Yeah, I think we should do that. We should clone 505 inside Loopy. So of course we will start like about how to connect your Type-C to the port, because it's really complicated. I will place the time codes, where is what, and I hope you will enjoy this video. When you will be watching this video, that means I have a full course for Loopy Pro and I will cover everything inside Loopy Pro. That will be the most detailed looping tutorial and looping course or whatever in my entire life. Link will be in description. Thank you. Of course, for the start you need some device which is running iOS. And that could be your phone, iPhone, tablet like iPad, and soon it will be available for macOS. If you tweaked your project on a MacBook, then you'll be able to transfer it to iPad. When maybe you're tired to holding the big screen of iPad, you can send this project to iPhone and go somewhere else and chilling somewhere and tweaking the project on your iPhone and then drop it back to your iPad, Mac. So it's, it's cross-platform and it's really, really cool. So for iPad, I will suggest anything with M1 CPU. It could be iPad Air, it could be iPad Pro 11-inch or iPad Pro 12.9-inch. Just in case to have some future-proof, M1 will be more than enough. Of course, you can buy M2, but for audio performance, I found that it's not really beneficial to have M2. It's just paying too much for not such bigger gap in power consumption, in terms of CPU. And of course, bigger screen gives you more options to lay out your controls inside your template. So bigger screen is better. But don't worry if you want to go with a small iPad. That doesn't mean that you have not enough space, you will run out of space for your loops, controls, effects, and etc. You can create multiple pages on your iPad. So just scroll them, no problem, don't worry about it. I firstly bought iPad M1 Pro 11-inch, 256 gigs, and it was fine. In terms of memory, if you're not watching YouTube, you're using your iPad straight just to looping, it's more than enough. I have installed so many plugins and I still have a lot of space. There's no problems at all. In terms of screen, later I switched to same M1 256 gigs, but 12.9 inches, because I like big screen. It's more pleasant for me. But this update was not really necessary. It's just, okay, maybe I need this. And yeah, I just bought an iPad for it. Of course, if you're planning to use a lot of samples, which is not live recorded, but you have your library there and you manipulating them, maybe, yeah, you need to consider something more than 256, maybe 512, or maybe 1 tera. All depends. But if you're just doing pure looping and you're recording everything on the fly, as I told, 256, completely fine. Then, of course, you will need the interface, and interface is also very flexible stuff. It depends on your needs, how many inputs you want, how many outputs you want. Do you want 2 monitoring channels for your headphones or only 1? So yeah, it's very flexible. I will give you here some really important advices how to choose your interface. And I have kind of small list of interfaces which are good to use with your iPad, but it's not limited just by this list. So I will rate them from top, great, and starter. So in top, it will be Motu Ultrawide MK5. I'm using it personally. It's really great interface, a lot of input outputs, mixing desks built in inside it, and you can use application on iPad to route your audio inside this interface without connecting to PC, Mac, or whatever, just plug and play. This is really awesome. Then the second on this list will be Arami Fireface UCX2. It's kind of the same as Motu Ultrawide MK5, but a bit more expensive. And as well, it has an application which you can install on your iPad, PC, Mac, and create routing metrics. What is going to where, like a full mixing desk, including compressors, filters, faders for your volume, gate, and everything. Actually, Motu Ultrawide MK5 as well, having a Q gate and a compressor built inside interface itself. So when I'm using my Motu, I set it up the gate, not on Loopy, but just inside my Motu, and it's working fine. Then in grade section, I will place Fluid Connect 6 and Scarlett 3rd generation for i4, 8i6, 18i8, 18i20. And into starter, I will place Moto M4/M2 because they're basically identical, just depending on input outputs, and Zoom UAC2. So this list, based on the 2 main options and features which you should pay attention. The first main feature you should pay attention, your interface should be class compliant. What does it mean? That means that your interface does not require any drivers to be installed when you connect it. It contains everything inside it, and it's provide information about the device itself by USB. And it's really useful because when you connect this to iPad, you can't install drivers to iPad. It's not like Mac or PC. So class compliant means you plug it and it's ready to play. The second feature is internal routing for your monitoring in the headphones, because you need to monitor metronome in your headphones and any additional stuff separately from your main output. So you can imagine this if you're using 505 MK2 or MK1. It's like you need to route your metronome to the headphones and not to the audience. So interfaces from grade and top is both having option to route your metronome or any other stuff separately from your main output. And as well, they are class compliant. From starter, they can't route the metronome separately from the main output, but they are class compliant. But it's not really necessary always to have metronome. For example, if you are recording like a simple hi-hat as your first sound, it could work as a metronome and it will be working together with your composition. So you need to think about it. So to recap, you should pay attention to class compliant mode and ability to create separated mixes for your headphones. Then, of course, you need to connect everything together. Your iPad and your interface, controllers, or I don't know, mouse, keyboard, or maybe HDMI output for your iPad. You need a USB hub. USB hub is basically your connectivity center for your iPad. I will tell you that please never buy like really cheap USB hubs for your iPad, because I've seen that it can introduce latencies, falling apart audio, or random disconnection of your interface or controls or anything. So when you're looking up for USB hub, you need to pay attention for such feature as power delivery and Thunderbolt 3 or 4. That means if you're having a power delivery, your iPad can at the same time be charged and at the same time send power through the hub to all your other devices. 2 MIDI controllers and sound interface, 1 controller, 1 interface, or just in control, or keyboard, mouse, whatever. And the Thunderbolt is a speed of transfer. And then you just choose the optimal amount of USB ports you need. So me personally, I'm using hub with only 3 USB ports. And it's enough for me because I'm having 2 controllers and 1 interface. And that's it. So I need 3 ports, and probably I don't need more. And if you will need more, you can switch a USB hub to a different one, or you can just buy extender for USB ports and just plug like hub into hub and get more ports, right? So in terms of controls, they are optional, because touchscreen itself already a controller. But if you want to mix physical feelings when you're touching a button with a touchscreen, you can connect pretty anything, which again should be class compliant. That means you can connect it and no drivers needed to be installed. So I will highlight most common and most flexible controllers which you can use with Loopy Pro and iPad. First one is INKIE MPC40 MK2. It's really solid. The faders actually build better than in a Loopstation 505 MK2. Then of course, Launchpad MK3 Pro. That's, I think, the must-have. If you have any gear or anything, this is just a must-have controller, not only for Loopy Pro, but for your PC, Mac, whatever. Because it's really flexible, customizable, it's solid, there's almost nothing to break. It has MIDI output, so you can control your hardware gear or control anything with a USB. Then there's a kind of interesting solution. It's called Array Touch. And it's kind of a mix between touchscreen and physical feelings. Kind of the screen of iPad, but combined with features of Launchpad. It's really cool, it's flexible, and I'm personally thinking to purchase one of these maybe soon. If you're thinking to buy 2 controllers, APC40 MK2 and Launchpad MK3 Pro, maybe there is a reason to replace both of them with Array Touch. Who knows, but I've seen this device in action and it's really nice. And don't forget that you can as well connect keyboards, for example, from Arturia, and they will work completely fine with your Loopy Pro or any application which requires MIDI inside your iPad. So I'm currently working on version 1.1, build 290. Developer Michael is doing constant updates each week, literally. He's adding a lot of new features. And if you will be watching this tutorial, I don't know, maybe 8 months later, keep in mind that something may change, but usually when he's doing updates, it's not like it's changing everything completely. It's just adding small feature here and there, and you just can see in a change log inside App Store what being added to latest release, and just consider this. But the core principles will be the same as I'm explaining here in version 1.1.